Mr. Selaelo Selota.
Yes, Jimmy.
How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How are you
What
doing,
an
man?
honor to have you here, man. What an honor to have you here.
Thank you. It's an honor. It's an honor. I've been wanting to be here. I mean, I've been bringing my guitar here for many years.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited that you are on the JD Kustom ChitChat, which is an episode of our Jam Jar series.
Yes.
And basically, what's going to happen here is we're going to talk about you, your musical career, and where you're at.
Yeah.
So let's start with that, Selaelo. Who are you?
Well, I just shoot from the hip. I'm from a village called Sikurue,
Yes.
far north in Polokwane, in Limpopo. A rural boy who grew up as a shepherd and who finished matric in that rural village, and then ran straight to the mines, where I worked in the mines for about 4 years as a mine worker, and encountered a lot of migrant workers. And I think after 4 years, I felt the mining was not for me, and I headed back to Joburg. By default, I was just coming to do some shopping, and I bumped into a music center where they teach music. So the journey begins.
Yes, I remember the first time you told me the story.
Yeah.
So you were walking past and you heard the jazz.
I was walking past Market Theatre,
Yes.
and there was another building. Next to that building, there was a board that was written Fuba Gallery downstairs. So gallery, I mean, I knew it had to do with paintings, and which is part of the art.
Yes.
And I went to see the art. Only when I came, the gallery was downstairs. Only when I came out, my eyes fell onto a notice board which was written, "Music students, please register on such and such a date." I was like, oh, they teach music. This is a miner who was just coming to town. And I inquired in reception. They said, yeah, we teach music. I said, I'm going to put a notice in the mine, and I'm going to quit the mining. I think I might be a musician. So, yeah, I went to the mine.
Selaelo.
Yeah, I went to the mine and I put in a notice. And after I put a notice, I had to work for 3 months. But during those 3 months, I started coming to Joburg to study music lessons, theory lessons. And that's how I started. And now I was just at the Market Theatre, which coincidentally led to me seeing the Kippies Jazz Club being built. While I was at Fuba, Kippies Jazz Club was being built. And I never even thought that when this club is completed, I would be working at the Market Theatre and they would transfer me into the jazz club to be a cleaner, putting me in close proximity with other musicians who were performing, great musicians, Sipho, Sticks Mabuse, Sakile, Abdullah Ibrahim, Hugh Masekela. It was amazing.
Sure.
Yeah. And of course, the passion burned even brighter, even harder, and I looked for an instrument that I can play, and I thought maybe I'm gonna play piano. It was funny though, because I remember the first time I started hanging out in front of a record company.
Yes.
And believing that some band people will allow me to come into their band and stand in front and sing. I thought I had a good voice, and somebody said, "I always see you here. You want to be in a band?" I said, "Yes." He says, "So you want to be in front?" I said, "Yes." He said, "So do you think all of us, we don't want to be in front?" My friend, join a band, learn an instrument. After you've been in a band, maybe you can assert yourself and say, "Hey, by the way, I want to try this." That's how it all started. And then leading me into the instrument. I was passing through some Harrison Street, and there was a guitar shop, guitars only, called Magnet Music.
Yes.
And it had lots of guitars. I bought my first guitar,
From there.
150 rands.
Okay, and what was it?
It was called Angelico.
Okay.
Some kind of a fake type of guitar, but I think my ear was tuned to music already. When I stroke those strings, it resonated in a way that I could connect with the sound, the wood. I think that's when I realized that it is not always the name, it is actually the wood and the strings.
The instrument itself.
That would give an ear an indication that this is a good sound.
Was it an electric guitar?
It was an acoustic guitar.
An acoustic guitar. Okay.
Nylon string guitar.
Okay.
And that's what I started with.
It seems like as complicated music gets, the basics of an acoustic guitar remain like so powerful, eh?
Yeah, I started with that acoustic guitar, and I would have continued with it had it not gotten lost by some unfortunate incident.
It's sad because it's, I'm sure, so sentimental being your first guitar.
Yes, but I could not do much.
Yes.
Because of the impact the whole thing was for me. And I started because now I was working as a cleaner at Kippies. I used to visit music shops on Saturdays, and there was a guitar shop, SA Instruments in High Point in Hillbrow, whereby I went one day and I saw a guitar for 2,600. It was a GB10 George Benson model.
Wow, that's an amazing guitar.
And I was earning
slight price increase to the first one.
Yes, I was earning. So that time I was already exposed to the music of Charlie Christian and George Benson, and so through people talking at the Kippies.
Yes.
And
so his signature model must have spoken a lot to you.
Yeah, so I heard how George Benson was playing guitar, and I got inside. I asked if I could touch it, and I touched it. It felt so good. I was earning about 94 rands per fortnight.
Yes.
And I said, can I buy this guitar? They said, where's the money? I said, no, I can pay it when it's here. Every fortnight, I would bring money. And that's what I did. I think I paid the guitar over 1.5 years. So it was in the shop. I would come to the shop every Saturday
and play
for a couple of 2-3 hours. And then when they close the shop, I go home happy.
Yeah, you played your guitar.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
And very soon I was now playing in bands in Johannesburg, but it was I met a lot of abuses. There's a lot of abuse in the music industry, from the industry itself, from other artists, practitioners. I worked with plays and so on, and you find that I've worked for 9 months and nobody paid me a cent. And one night in Hillbrow, I was overcome by depression, and I even thought this life is not for me anymore. It was on Christmas Eve. I said, maybe this life must end today. And I was on a balcony that time of a 10th floor.
Sure.
And when I realized what I was thinking, I started actually crying, and I pulled off from the balcony, almost throwing up, almost. How I felt sick, because I realized my mind was completely convinced. And I picked up my things. I called one guy who was a guitar teacher, a classical teacher. I said, I want to go to school. I knew he studied at University of Cape Town, Mr. Llewellyn Landau. He lives in Sophia Town. And he said, yeah, I always thought that could be good for you. And
I think you made a good decision, Selaelo.
Yeah,
you know?
And that's
Here
how
we are today.
That's how it started. I applied the first year. I couldn't make it. I went back home. I stayed for a year. And when I came back, playing with bands, I applied again. I couldn't make it in 1990. And then in 1993, I got a letter from, it was not a letter, it was the application forms that came from another guitarist who was a lecturer at UCT. Word has been going around. And already that time I was playing with the Shell Road to Fame band, backing other up-and-coming artists who were in the competition. And word went around, people were hearing me, seeing me on TV. And
I'm sure your skills in this time were already vastly improved.
Very improved.
So now learning through UCT must have been a huge step for you.
It was a huge step in terms of being in an institution that will formalize my knowledge that I had gained already. But I realized that hard work and practice and listening to good music pays off, because when I arrived at University of Cape Town, what I could hear, a fourth year student, final year student could not hear.
Okay.
what I could play.
That came with experience as well.
Yes, yes.
Selaelo, did you ever think at that time, entering UCT to study jazz, did you ever think that you would actually end up lecturing there and being a lecturer there?
No, I didn't think I would end up being a lecturer. And I did not aim to become a lecturer. It came by accident. The guitar teacher that I found, who was my first guitar lecturer at UCT, his name is Gary Finbeck. Gary Finbeck studied at Berklee College of Music. So I was so chuffed and so excited that my teacher studied at Berklee College of Music. And after he introduced me the guitar, I understood his teaching method. And before my first year could finish, he left.
What a pity.
And so when he left, actually, he didn't leave. He indicated that he's going to be leaving. So the beginning of the second year, Gary did not come back. Okay. And when he didn't come back, already that time, because of my passion, I was already doing extra activities. Lunchtime, I would organize a jam session in one of the practice rooms, ensemble practice rooms, whereby I would explain some of the songs, tackle some of the jazz songs, and those that don't understand how to approach them, I would help them. So I was not aware the faculty is looking
for someone to fill the spot.
Yes. So what happened is that one lecturer was taken to the mainstream students, and UCT introduced a 2-year pre-university entrance, whereby some people who were not really ready would start there. So I started teaching that, and gradually that only lecturer of the guitar started dropping some of the students to me. And then yet another lecturer who was teaching jazz improvisation left. He was from the US, Rene McLean. Then there was that gap. Then when I went and they tried me on lecturing jazz improvisation 1 to 3rd year, and I'm in 2nd year, they then realized that I was explaining everything on guitar. Then I was given room to now teach guitar as well.
Your story is inspiring, Selaelo, really. So now this makes me wonder, who are the inspirations throughout your journey that have been the most powerful for you?
Musically?
Yes. Well, musically and also, you know, in other elements.
Well, other elements, it's more about the personality of where I came from. I came from a background whereby, as a young man growing up to 23 years old, I did not know my father. And not knowing my father meant that I did not know my identity. I did not know who he was and what he is and what he looks like. Therefore, when I met music and realizing that music is such a strong art form, that it establishes somebody's name and the person becomes famous and popular, then I realized that some of these people who are famous are not even their real names, but they are that person today. People don't know Alicia Keys' real name.
Yes.
They don't know Kenny G's real name. He is not
only
Kenny
his stage
G.
name.
Right. So I felt if I would be a musician, I would establish something, a name that would give me an identity that would say I have a right to be. That is number one. That pushed me so hard to become. And then musically, on the guitar, first person who really turned me on, I heard how Charlie Christian was playing guitar. I heard how George Benson was playing guitar. But Grant Green brought it for me. He was a jazz guitarist whose approach to playing the guitar is what is called lyrical. And so it made sense that he was the one who turned me on, because initially I wanted to be in front and sing.
Yes.
So when I listened to him playing the guitar, I could feel that he is actually murmuring words that cannot be heard. And so Grant Green was the person that turned me on. And then I realized that George Benson was influenced by Grant Green. So and so and so. So starting with him, then I wanted to know each and everybody who got influenced by him. And then when I went into George Benson, I learned also that George Benson also was influenced by Wes Montgomery. Therefore, I learned Wes Montgomery. I learned that also he was influenced by Kenny Burrell when it comes to the blues. Therefore, I listened to Kenny Burrell. I learned that from his speed, George Benson listened to a white guitarist by the name of Hank Gallant. I went to go and buy Hank Gallant's records. So it's a number of musicians today that I look at as my reservoir of knowledge for music, for guitar playing, for jazz playing, you know.
Fantastic, Selaelo. So now you've got an arsenal of 6 albums.
Yes.
Which are all totally amazing.
Yes, yes.
And your latest one being The Promise, which is something that I've listened to very carefully for many years.
Yes.
And so you've been telling me you're working on your 7th album now. And
yes.
Give me a bit of insight on that.
My 7th album is almost finished. It's called 8 Colors of the Rainbow. I feel there's a need for musicians to be conscious of their surroundings. Apart from being a good musician who's appreciated, I think I'm not appreciated by one type of people. I feel I'm appreciated by all kinds of people. And if that is the case, I have an opportunity to communicate with all of them.
Yes.
And we live in a country that is has got serious dynamics. Since 1994, I realized that we have not really gelled with all the coming from different backgrounds. So last year, 2017, as I was working on a project to try and write an album and music that could unite people, which I was working on a title, One Country. I went to a funding agency and said, hey, I'm working on something. They said, yeah, why don't you apply to us? I said, yeah, well, I don't have an idea of what you want. And they said, yeah, 2018 is Nelson Mandela's centenary. If you can create something that is in that vein, maybe we will look at your application. So I put in an application, and as I was putting in an application, thinking about how Mandela unified people, and him and Bishop Tutu, and I realized that actually that's when the term Rainbow Nation came around.
Correct, yes.
And so looking at the dynamics that we have that are tearing apart from different circles of racial intolerance, I felt if the rainbow has got 7 primary colors, those colors are scattered today. They need a bonding matter. They need a glue that can put them together. And by themselves, they need something extra. I must introduce another color that will bring them together, that will pull them together. So that color must be a color that each and every of those 7 colors say they need, and it must be something they say they also have. They have it, but they need it as well.
That's amazing, Selaelo. I love that concept.
Yeah, so therefore, I looked into what is it that stops me from loving you or liking you. It is lack of love. So I introduced the element of love as the 8th color of the rainbow. That we all need love, but we also have love to give, but we still need it.
Of course.
Right.
Yes.
So then...
Sure, Selaelo, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I started writing a song.
Yes.
Called 8 Colors of the Rainbow. Which has got a section that says... it's got a... Where's that guitar? It's got a section that says... Between the 7 colors of the rainbow, there is one more I can see. It is written deep in your heart. Love is the color of life. You see that? Between the 7 colors of the rainbow, there is one more that I can see. But that one color is written deep inside your heart.
It makes the world go around, man.
Right.
Yeah.
Love is the color of life.
It's why we're all here, Selaelo.
Yes.
That's beautiful, man. That's
So
beautiful.
8 Colors of the Rainbow will be coming out soon. I'm just doing some finishing touches.
I can't wait for
There's
that.
some beautiful guitar playing there, and there's some vocal tunes as well. And as I say, social commentary, as I said, it's a reflection of another song that says, one country. It's called the chorus that, one country, one life, one future, one chance at life. One country, one life, one future, one chance at life. You say you wanna know what the people are saying on the ground. Sometimes you just have to take a little listen on the ground. You have to remember, what you throw in the ground is what you'll reap. But now it's time to sing one little melody before we go to the ground, yeah. One country, one life, one future, one chance at life. You see?
That's amazing, Selaelo. You know what? I realize that I'm so lucky to see you regularly come into this workshop, because I get to hear these things before they get onto albums.
Man, they haven't had this song.
It's such a privilege for me, really.
Yeah, they haven't had these songs. 8 Colors of the Rainbow and One Country. So One Country ended up being another song on the album, but the title changed from One Country to 8 Colors of the Rainbow.
Okay, and you've used that play on words, which is absolutely clever, you know?
Yes.
So, Selaelo, I'd like to know your opinion on the music industry in South Africa. You kind of brushed up on it a little bit now.
Yeah.
So, with your experience now and having played so many shows like the Joy of Jazz and many other massive concerts, what is your opinion on where we are at today?
The music industry in South Africa is very segmented.
Yes.
Because unlike in the past, we have musicians, we have artists, and we have music makers. So, musicians are able to be artists, and they are able to be music makers. Artists are able to be artists, but are not able to be musicians. They use music as an accompaniment of their artistic expression. Say a rap artist, say a hip hop artist, you understand?
Yes.
And then they would accompany themselves, get musicians together to put music together that accompany their rap. So they are not musicians, they are artists.
Correct.
And they cannot create music.
Yes.
You see, it's music.
But they use music
They
as a
use
tool
music. But
for
when they
their
get
artistry.
but when they position themselves in the industry, they say they are musicians. In South Africa, it's like that. And then you have music makers who are not artists or rappers or whatever. They have a computer, they get samples and put them together and release a song.
Okay.
They are music makers, but they are not musicians and they are not even artists. So now these three segments are making the music industry in South Africa to be very complicated, and therefore, because the artists and the music makers tend to be more of hustlers because of their nature of their getting into a space that is not really their specialty. So they push harder, and the media then takes them in because they would use also their outspokenness, some kind of outrageous things they do. They will be in the forefront, and the real musicians are
in the background.
In the background and suffering, and the opportunities are given to those. It's about today's industry is impacted by populism and fashion and all those kind of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I mean,
So,
the radio depends highly on that, and
yes,
and exposes almost only that.
yes, but now today's economy is not purely driven by the older generation. It's also driven by the youth. Therefore, radio and the commercial entities would go on hard on the youth and put them on TV, because the youth spend without care, whereas the mature spend with care.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So then
they've burnt their fingers in the past.
right. So the shifts there, and then you find that those who are trying to entertain are not getting the space. They're not getting the platforms to express themselves and to make their works known, which then forces people like myself to start my own movement of saying, I'm going to tour. I'm going to get sound at Marshall Music, and then I'm going to put a show together and advertise it and do my own thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. And now Selaelo, since we're talking about the youth and the mature,
yes,
what is your advice for the young population of South Africa? My
advice, you mean the one that are in the arts, or just youth in general?
Give us a general idea.
I think it is very important for the youth to learn, not from what is on top of their heads, on top of our heads, but also to learn what is beneath our feet. Because whatever is on top of our head is up on top there, because we are standing on our feet. The youth of today must learn where things developed from, the history, the development, because that is the secret to their survival. If they don't know where things have started musically, if they don't know where things have started scientifically, if they don't know the history of development of agriculture, how it developed in order for the sustenance of food production, they don't have an idea of how they're going to survive in the future to be able to be a species that is surviving. So looking back, reflecting what happened back, and learning what actually happened is the strongest point of reference to move forward.
I love that, Selaelo. That's so powerful. So understanding your foundation,
yes,
before building a house and
build anything you want, but understand
the
foundation. Yes, yes.
Okay, Selaelo. And last question is, what flavor, man? What flavor to the JD Kustom Jam Jar?
Woo! That moment, I'm jamified. What flavor? Oh. What flavor? What is the flavor? There's just some strawberry there.
Jazzy strawberry.
Yeah, I love strawberries, man. Yeah. So let's do this again.
Cool.
More and more. My guitars have a home. In actual fact, they have been kept healthy here, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I've had amazing concerts, and all because the car that I was driving, the guitar that I was playing, was not making me look behind me and find an excuse that I'm not sounding good because something is not right behind me. I was playing because it was saying, please make me scream. And it screamed.
Thank you for the compliment, Selaelo.
Thank you.
It's an honor to work on your guitars, and it's an honor to have you on the JD Kustom Jam Jar.
Thank you.
And to be your friend, and to be part of this amazing creation of music that you give us.
Yeah, thank you.
Nice. Selaelo, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
All the best.
Sure.
Cool.